Hey there, welcome to FiddleHed Fiddle Lessons. Today we're going to learn more about sliding the left hand. Now, in the first lesson I taught on this, we just slid up. But today we're going to learn to slide down and then down and back up, like. And here's an example of how that'll sound on a tune you may have heard called Swallowtail Jig. Alright, so now that you've heard a little bit of this, let's learn how to do it. Okay, so if you have not taken the first few lessons I did on this, I recommend you do those first. So just to review a little bit, in the very first lesson, we learned a three-step process for practicing slides. You practice separate notes, so they like D low 1 to D1, and then you practice big slow slides. And then you practice quick little slides. Alright, so I think that's a great warm-up to doing this. In the second lesson, in case you haven't taken it, we focus on adding to tunes. And on this lesson, we're going to do downward and upward slides, and we'll add it to some tunes as well in this lesson. So let's just start by going to D1, and what I want you to practice is that same strategy of separate notes to start. So D1 to low 1. Keep the notes separate. Really just internalize that exercise. And as we did with the first lesson, once we mastered these simple exercises on the first finger, we'll do it on the second, then on the third, and then on the fourth. And then these can be translated to any other string, okay? So, but let's stay on point and do a slide now. So after you've done this warm-up exercise, we can practice a sliding exercise. So we're gonna change it slightly. We're gonna go D1, slide down. Why don't we just start with that? Just practice going D1 to D low 1 with a big slow slide. Release the bow and try it again. Alright, and then now try the upward slide from D low 1 to 1. Now let's do them back to back. D1, low 1, low 1, 1. Alright, and practice that a bunch on your own. Let's now do it in a loop together. Let's just go D. And again. Once more. Remember, those are big, slow slides. You can also do this with little slides, something like. Okay, so let's just do one more exercise in which we'll, in one bow, slide down and back up. So we're going to go D1 to low 1, back to 1, and it'll sound like. Just try that on your own, out of time, without a play-along track or anything, without any beat. And you can experiment here with doing a big slide, all the way to D low 1. Or more subtle, quick slide. All right, cool. So now let's practice this exercise in a play-along track from the lesson page on FiddleHed. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, excellent. So if you really practice this on the first finger, you'll get the idea of the slides. You'll deepen your practice of sliding. And it works the same way that we learned in the first lesson, which is once you can do it on D1, then just start experimenting it with on other strings. So take all the same exercises, and you could do it with G1, which is A, so you would use an A drone. Start with the separate notes, and then big slow slides, G1, low one, low one, and then do, and you may want to do the quick little slide there. So it's one bow. And then you could do it on A1 with a B drone, E1 with an F sharp drone. All right, now on the FiddleHed lesson page, I'll have drones ready and waiting for you so you can practice it with those. And just a note about the way the lesson works, I like to teach this technique and a lot of the techniques just on the D string, have you master it there, and then have you try and figure it out on other strings. Basically transpose it, another word would be translate it to another string. And that way you're less dependent on reading, you're less dependent on tabs, on play along tracks and whatnot, and you really have to internalize what you practice. And I want to just stress that. I want you to be your own teacher. I want you to learn how to learn as you go. Teach yourself to learn, okay? And ultimately, I want you to be able to learn anything on your own. So you can use these practice principles and learn some technique that I haven't taught. Maybe I don't even know it yet, or some tunes or whatever that I don't even know. You know these simple practice strategies, you can really learn anything and even other instruments with it. All right, so I'm just gonna now more quickly move through how this will work with the other fingers on the D string. So for D2, we would practice going D2 to low 2. All right, and then we can do our sliding slow, and then the kind of down and up slide. And mastering it on D2, you could do it on G2 with a B drone, A2 with a C sharp drone, G2 with a G sharp drone. All right, and moving forward still, we can do the same thing with D3. We would slide D3 to low 3. And then do our big slow slide step. Let me do that again. Take your time with this. If you need to, use the G drone and do it real slow. The advantage of using drones is you can really set your own pace. You can do it very slow, you can do it fast, you can switch to other strings. So it gives you more control over your practice, and it also gives you a chance to find the tuning, you slide down. All right, and then the same exercise for the fourth finger. We'd practice separate notes. So 4, low 4, 4, and then do that slide. All right, so that's roughly how this works. If you've taken the other lessons on sliding, then it's going to start to sound familiar, this whole process. I'm just going to close the lesson by giving you a few examples from tunes, and everything that I've done today has play along tracks and sheet music on the FiddleHed lesson page. So let's see here. We'll do a little bit of swallowtail jig. The very last bar of the A part and the B part goes. That's the basic version. We end on D1, and now we're going to do it with a downward and upward slide, like. Here it is again. So remember, if this is hard, focus on the smallest thing possible, which would be just D1, maybe sliding down. And if you can do that, then do the slide back up. Just do that. See how we're slowly building. This is micro practice. It's like using a microscope. And now do that last bar. maybe super slow. And then once you get it, speed it up a little. Let's do a play along track for this exercise.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Let's do one more example from a FiddleHed core tune. So why is this a core tune? It's not like we're going to do Kerfunkin Jig. It's not like it's better than another tune. It's just that I use certain tunes I continually return to and have students return to because you know the tune well, and then it's a great way to add new techniques that you learn. So you just take an existing tune that you're comfortable with and use that as your training ground. So for Kerfunkin Jig, the first bar is, and now we're going to add a downward and upward slide to that first bit. I'll slow it down. All right, and so we can do an exercise in which we alternate between the basic and the variation, like so. Now the slide. All right, so I go more into that strategy on alternating a basic and a variation in the second lesson on sliding, and also that's a practice strategy that you can use on anything. And I use it extensively in, I have a course on Irish fiddling called the Irish Fiddle Journeys course, and that's kind of like one of the main principles of it. But you can use it whatever level you're at, whatever you're doing, even whatever instrument, you know, like do something very basic and then add a little variation to it, and then see if you can eventually make a little practice loop. Basic, variation. All right, so that's roughly the idea with downward slides and downward to upward slides. Hope that was useful and fun. And by now, if you followed me through these first 3 lessons, you have the important principles of sliding. So, but I've made one more lesson. Maybe I'll make more. I'm not sure yet, but in this beginning phase, I have 4 lessons. And the last lesson, we don't really learn anything new. I'm just going to give you some more challenging exercises to play with and practice with. So stay tuned for that. It's coming up. And thank you so much for watching. It's really been a joy meeting. I'm getting to know more of you and connect with more of you through messages and Zoom lessons and different ways. And it's been really surprisingly nice. Just really pleasant meeting everybody. So, okay, so cool. We'll see you, and so long. Go to FiddleHed.com for a progressive, step-by-step course outline, color-coded tabs, play-along tracks, sheet music, and much more. Thanks for watching the video. Excellent! And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.